Welcome back to Ultimate S&S. I hope everyone is having a wonderful 4th of July. It is a beautiful day outside. I was afraid it was going to be raining. We had plenty of rain last night and over the last few days, but the sun is out. There's a few clouds in the sky that's keeping it from being way too hot out there, so it's going to be beautiful. Kind of watched our or our locals, I should say, give their firework display last night, which was really nice to be able to go out and watch everybody spending time with their families, regardless of how you feel about fireworks, whether they're legal or illegal in your area. In this area, people are not supposed to be using mortars and bottle rockets and things like that without buying permits and stuff. Do these people have permits? I don't really care. You cannot celebrate your independence by being restricted by laws that say, oh, you can't celebrate unless you have a permit. That's just kind of weird to me, but that's how I feel about it. I don't get too upset when people are using fireworks. My dog, on the other hand, he cannot stand anything that pops or bangs or anything like that. So unfortunately, he's going to be kind of freaking out probably the next few days as everyone is using up their fireworks. But we just went out a little while ago. I picked out quite a few squash. Took a bunch of okra in, which is really great because we love eating okra here. About every 2 days I get a really big haul in, and it does not last long, so I've been wanting to freeze some, but as the plants get bigger, we're producing more and more and more of those okra pods. But the rate that my dad and I eat them, and then our dog also likes to eat that stuff with us, it doesn't last very long. So but what it does do is it actually creates a situation where I can take those funds of the money that we're saving, not having to buy this stuff for groceries, and I'm able to actually put that toward buying food that's already been flash frozen, it's already been dehydrated, or it's already canned, and we're able to get our stores and our stocks up. So it's very important that we do that as preppers or as sustainable homesteads and things like that. So if you're not a prepper and you're wanting to get more information about prepping, what prepping basically is we look at what is happening around us, and we look at it from a standpoint of is our life, is it sustainable to a point where with these rising prices that are going up, the inflation that's happening, the food supplies that are starting to really get hit hard, we're seeing a food crisis. The World Food Program, which is ran by the United Nations, is saying that we're going to have massive food shortages and that there's going to be real starvation here in America and around the world later this year. So we're already seeing it. They had originally predicted around the middle of June you were going to see those prices almost double. That has happened. In some cases, they have tripled in this area. I understand we live in a state in an area where there are a lot of people who come down here for vacation, so prices are typically a little higher in the summertime, but not this drastic. This has just gotten crazy. Gas prices are, I think we was right around $2.09 to 189, something like that, right before all of this mess started hitting. When I mean the mess, I mean, what happened in our election and stuff, guys. Unfortunately, regardless of how you feel about it, our gas prices started coming up once this administration hit office. But we can blame it on what's happening overseas if we want to. The fact is, on day 2, there were a lot of executive orders that went out that basically crippled domestic fuel here in our country. And one of the things that has just recently come out is the Supreme Court has come in and they are reeling the EPA in. They no longer have a clean or a blank check to say, we're going to regulate the way we want to regulate. The Supreme Court has reeled that in. They're saying, no, you can no longer regulate power companies and things like that. So that, I'm hoping, is going to, here in the next few months, start to reduce the costs of what it's costing for electricity, because a lot of electricity prices have gone up as well. And coming into winter, maybe not so much down here in Florida, but especially in our northern states with our friends and our families and things like that, that are going to be having some really cold winters. They're calling for some record-setting cold winters this winter, and if the prices are continually climbing like they are now, it's going to be bad. But we do have a lot of power plants and things like that throughout the country. A lot of those are coal driven. So the Supreme Court has come out and they said that they cannot limit these things. So we might actually see some of those prices come down, but what's going to really need to happen is we're going to need to see that our coal production picks back up and that it is given what it needs to be able to do that. So while it would be nice for everybody in the world to have their solar panels, their wind panels, or whatever, and go to a non-fossil fuel type of a environment, hey, I don't have a problem with that. But the technology just isn't there yet, as far as being cheap enough for every average American to own that type of stuff. So you're looking at quite a bit of money when it comes to solar panels or any type of a alternative power source that is not fossil fuel related. And the fact is, most people just cannot afford that. And then you have the batteries that are going to have to be with the battery banks. And honestly, with a lot of these types of batteries and with the electronic vehicles and stuff, there actually is a greater contamination risk and a greater environmental risk because of those batteries, because we're having to dig the lithium out of the ground, which is contaminated the ground. And then also, when those batteries are bad, they do not have a proper way to dispose of them. And one battery, from what they were saying, can actually contaminate up to 2 to 3 acres of land. So you figure how many vehicles are just in this state or just this county, and then how many acres of land that's going to continue to just destroy as those batteries wear down. And that's one of the things that we're looking at when it comes to anything that has to do with the government. I know a lot of people like to think that they are currently looking into making the country green and making it a situation where we're not polluting as bad. But understand they have contracts, people that are still dumping in the oceans, they're still dumping in the Gulf, they are still contaminating groundwater supplies with these batteries and stuff like that. And these companies are actually getting tax breaks for doing that. So I would be very careful in investing in these electronic vehicles. There was some reports that come out from some CEOs that said they were expecting probably around 2040 that they will stop producing vehicles that will be using fossil fuels. I personally don't see that happening, not at the current cost of what vehicles are. Most people do not drive around in a new vehicle. They have to buy one that is at least a decade old, and then they will take and they will fix those vehicles up. And the initial pollution of creating that vehicle, and you can keep it running a heck of a lot cheaper a lot of times than buying these batteries that could cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. That's for the battery. So basically, you have a disposable car that's going to run you about $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. When the battery dies on it, to buy a battery for it, you're looking at a half the cost of what the car originally cost. But then you're going to start running into problems with the power systems because it is fairly new technology. People need to understand it's not a 12-volt battery. It is a high voltage type of battery. To charge those vehicles, you are charging them with basically 120 volt. So you need to make sure that you're looking at the pros and the cons of this stuff. As far as will electric vehicles eventually take over and be one of the new technologies that is prominent in this world, it's potentially possible, but the technology really needs to come a long way. When you have our governments and stuff talking about it's our fault of the pollution and it's our fault for the ozone depletion and things like that, we the ones that were out there busting off atom bombs and things like that in the desert for years. No, we were not. Are we the ones who were going and polluting and dumping mustard gas and VX nerve gas and a lot of these different types of ordinances that were not used after World War II and Vietnam War down into the Gulf of Mexico? No, we were not. Our government was. So if they want to point fingers at people, they need to point them at themselves. And then the contractors that disposed of this stuff that was hired by the military, they should actually have to get out and clean this mess up. If you've heard of red tide and things like that, they say that is an algae bloom that kills fish. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but I have seen the videos where they have gone into the Gulf of Mexico, and these are areas where you are not allowed to be out boating. It's actually, they are set up where you cannot go out there. You will meet a Coast Guard or somebody out there, and they will run you away from that area based on the reports. But they had some dive crews go out, and they have actually seen where they have encased these giant drums and different types of ordnance inside of cement. The cement is actually cracked, and this stuff is leaking out into our Gulf. So understand that's going to have a lot of negative effects, unfortunately, on our wildlife. So I think if they were really truly worried about our environment, they would start fixing first the things that they messed up. And it is important. I know that World War II was ended basically when they started dropping the atom bombs and things. But you will hear a report of 2. They originally had 3 planned, but they have been dropping hydrogen bombs, atomic weapons, and things like that, leading up to that, and since testing out new types of weapons. And we don't know what kind of environmental effects that has had, but we do know that it's not because someone used a hairspray can and it was just because of that, which was what it was when I was growing up. They were saying that it was the hairspray cans that were depleting the ozone. It had nothing to do, apparently, with us punching through it with rockets and using metric tons of rocket fuel to actually send satellites into the upper atmosphere and things like that. So you can't just come up and blame one or two things or blame it just on vehicles and stuff. Does it contribute to it? Sure, I'm sure it does. But I do believe that the climate is changing. I don't necessarily believe it's for just the reasons that they're saying. Have we sped it up some? I'm not a scientist. We've got some that are saying no. We've got some that are saying yes. But if the yes is the definitive on there, understand it's not you going to work and back causing the issues. It is launching hundreds of satellites to make sure everyone can get 5G within a year. Thousands of satellites are planned. And how much fuel is it taking to actually get that up there? People are talking about running out of fossil fuels and stuff. They don't seem too concerned with it when it comes to things that they want to do. So understand, we are on the lower end of the totem pole. We are not the important people. We are not the ruling class. We are not the elect. We are the peasant, basically. So when they start to see reserves start to dwindle in their eyes, what do? Well, they will take from us to provide for themselves. And I think that has been common throughout history with any kingdom and any type of government that has ever been up. So I hope everyone's having a wonderful day out here. If you have not made plans to go out and see fireworks, hey, I am with you. I am not going to go out into the crazy stuff that's in town right now. I used to work out on the beach, and we would go and we could see the fireworks from the place I was working at. Nobody would come to this amusement park we was at. Everybody was out at the bars or these local nightclubs and things like that. And that's fine if that's something that you're into. All I ask is that you do it responsibly. Do not be out driving drunk because, one, your family loves you. They want you to get home. Not only that, the other families on the road, they love each other. They love their families, and they want to get home safe as well. So everyone, please be responsible. There should not be loss of life during having fun. You can have fun and be responsible as well. So everyone have a wonderful day.